Welcome everybody. I think there's people still joining, but let's get started. We have an absolute ton of stuff. So this presentation is all about how you can build a really big business by acquiring other businesses. So buying your competitors, buying your suppliers, buying your vendors. And essentially, there's no reason why you can't be the Amazon of your own niche by acquiring other businesses. It's what they're doing, and we're going to be covering that a little bit shortly. And there's a lot of benefits to doing this. It's not just about making money, building wealth, which I know is great, but you can build legacies by doing this. You can make a bigger impact in your business, in your market, by following some of these rules. And you can actually double your existing business in a day by buying another company. And that's the day that you close on your first bolt-on acquisition. So what we're going to cover today is how to do that, how to double and more your business in a day. And this is all about risking any of your own personal money. We're going to show you how you can leverage other people's money to buy these businesses and close these deals. And it's all about working smarter. It's not about working any harder, any longer, hustling even more than you're maybe doing right now. So if a lot of this resonates with you, then you're going to love this training. And as I said, it's about building wealth and building legacy, and you being the dominant player of your niche by buying the growth, not hustling for the growth, not stumping for the growth. It's buying it, buying the revenues that you want, buying the cash flow, the employees, the customers, the products and services. It's buying that by acquiring the businesses that already have it and bolting it in to what you already have. So this is going to resonate with you if you guys are this. So ideally, you're an existing business owner. So you've either started a business and got some growth, or you've acquired a company, maybe it was your first deal, and you're looking to scale that beyond where you are right now. Ideally, you've got about $500,000 or more in annual revenues. I know some of you, I've been looking at the people that have joined are way beyond that, but it doesn't matter. I think at around $500,000, that's where you can really get the benefits from this. And this is for people that are really executing on growth already. So we're not talking about buying businesses to rescue you from a terribly distressed company to get you out of a hole. It's like you're doing well, you're hustling, but you want to grow faster. You want to accelerate your growth much faster without all that hustle and grind that you might have right now. And the interesting thing is, if you want to grow a business, there's really only three ways you can do it. So what most people do is they grow their business organically. So they go out, they do more marketing, they get more leads, they convert more people into customers. And you can also add new products and services that you build yourself into your mix. Or you can go do affiliate partnerships. So if you're in the e-com space or the online space, you can partner with other companies and cross-sell your products between those traffic sources. But what we're all about is buying complementary businesses to grow. So that's why we're talking about making acquisitions. And this is what the big boys do. This is what large companies do in the marketplace. Look at Microsoft. They've been acquiring businesses for years and years and years. They wanted to get into the social media space. So did they sit down and figure out with their engineers, how do we build a platform? How do we monetize it? No, they went and bought LinkedIn. When they realized that Skype was a massive source of potential new customers for them, they went and acquired the company and then started selling all of their software and services to that Skype customer base. Amazon, probably the most prolific acquirer of companies today. They realized many years ago that all of their book buyers listened to books on an app called Audible. So did they sit down and figure out, how do we build this? How do we code it? How do we monetize it? No. They just went and bought the company. When they realized that a lot of their customers or their target customers were shopping in Whole Foods, they went and acquired that business and integrated it in. And as well, when they realized that footwear was a major niche that they weren't that strong in, they identified one of the largest players, Zappos, and bought that company as well. When I was back in HP was massively acquiring other businesses. We were primarily a PC and a printing company, and we wanted to follow more of what IBM was doing and get more into software and services. We didn't build any of that stuff ourselves. We bought it. We did all of these deals, which, as you know, I was a part of, to get that growth and get that impact. Apple as well, the largest company in the world, $2 trillion market cap. They realized that a lot of their iTunes customers and people that have iPhones were not using the free headphones that they give you with these devices. They were going out and buying $300, $400, $500 headphones. So Apple went and bought the company, which was Beats by Dr. Dre. Even legacy old school businesses are doing deals to grow, like Walmart. Walmart figured out that it needed to get into the e-com world to survive and thrive, didn't do it itself, decided to buy IGET to give it that e-commerce platform. So if the big guys are growing by acquisition, then why can't you do it? Well, if you watch the rest of this training, you can. I'm going to show you how to do it. And when you start to grow and you want to do deals, there's really 4 types of deals that you can do. So the first thing is you can go and buy a competitor. So if you own a plumbing company, just go and buy the guy down the street that's doing exactly the same as you. Then you double down on your market share and you grow very, very quickly. Or you can go buy a supplier. So if you're an engineering company, you can buy a component supplier. You can buy complementary businesses. So a software company can buy a services company. Or you could do something called a roll-up, which is hoovering up lots and lots of really small businesses within a particular niche and building a really big group. So let's go through some examples. The first one is, let's say you own a supplements company. You can grow by going and buying another supplements company. And one of our special guests that we'll hear from in a little while, who'll tell us about his journey, is Peter Ballantine. That's a picture of him with Adam and I at an event we had about 18 months ago. We gave Peter a deal tombstone, where all of our successful students that close deals, we give them a tombstone, which is what you typically get in the financial services space. And what he did is he had a great business selling supplements and decided to grow even faster by acquiring another business, giving him new customers to target, new products to target, and as well, a different channel to market. You could have let's say you own a chain of weight loss clinics and you want to buy into your supply chain. So one thing that you could do is go and buy, say, the supplement products or the powders that come into your business. And this is what Chris Matthews did, who's a very good friend of Adam and I's. He started off by buying up small weight loss clinics, ended up with about 5 or 6. And then he was sat looking through his income statement one day, and he said to me, gosh, I'm spending a lot of money on protein powder. I said, well, just go buy the company. So he did. He went and acquired that business. And he didn't use any of his own money to do it. And then all of that extra profit then got locked in to his business. Let's say you own an engineering company, and a big part of, let's say you're building an engine for a car, and a big part of your cost of sales is buying all the little components that you put in to building that engine. So you could just go and buy that company and again, lock it into what you've already got. And that's what Peter and HANIF did. They partnered together. Peter was the engineer, HANIF was the marketer. They came together and they're building a massive group of engineering companies, and they're buying complementary businesses, competitors, supply chain partners, etc. And you could then move into complementary deals. So let's say you own a publishing company, a magazine business, and you realize that all of your magazine customers spend money on marketing agencies. You go and buy a marketing agency and then sell those services to your existing companies. And that's what Michael Nguyen did. He owned a publishing business called Success Magazine and went and bought a multi-7-figure marketing agency and then sold all those services to his customers. This works in any industry. This works in the industrial space as well. So let's say you're into marine safety. Let's say you own a big technology company that provides safety products on large ships. You can go and buy the same company that's doing it on small ships. And that's what Lindsay Lyon did. He was the CEO of a large Australian PLC called Mobile Arm. They went and acquired a small competitor in the UK. And then when Lindsay actually left the corporate world, he did something even really cool. He applied the deal-making tactics that he learned from us and went and acquired his own first business called Shark Shield. And I actually partnered with him on that deal. It was a fantastic acquisition. And then finally, roll-ups. Roll-ups are where you just go and buy lots and lots of really small businesses in a particular niche, and then you just consolidate them all together, like a hair salon or a chiropractor or a dental practice or a veterinary practice or a coffee shop. It works in all of those different sectors. And that's what Darren Jacobs did. This is a really cool story. He actually, he has a daughter that's a hairdresser, was renting a stool or a chair in someone else's salon. And she turned around and said, hey, Dad, I want to buy a hairdressing salon. So he went out and he bought one for her, leveraging our training. But then he thought, well, I've got all these potential deals. And he went out and he bought 17 more. So he's bought 18 of these small companies now. He's merged them all together and he's extracting tons and tons of value out of that larger group. So there's a lot of benefits to growing via bolt-on acquisitions. You buy more customers that you can sell your existing products and services to. You buy more products and services from that new company that you can sell to your existing customers as well. That's going to allow you to buy more revenue, buy more cash flow. You're buying more assets. You're not going out and ordering them from whoever makes them. You're getting them as part of the business that you're acquiring. And when you buy another company, there's all this other value that you can generate. You can buy potentially a different channel to market. You can buy more talent. If you feel that hiring and retaining key employees in your business is really challenging for you, and it's really hard for you to find them and bring them in, when you buy another company, all of those people will come with it and be part of your combined business. But there's some deeper benefits to this as well. And, for me, this is all about working on your business, not in your business. It's a mindset shift, and we'll talk about this in a minute. And, for me, doing deals all the time, and it's the same for Adam, for us, there's a lot more freedom involved. We're not hustling in our businesses every day because we're growing exponentially through doing deals. We're able to be more of an owner investor than an owner manager sat inside the business. So we have a better work-life balance. I've spent more time with my family in the last 12 months than I have in the last 15 years. And I know COVID's been a part of that, but I've got a lot more time. And really, we're leveraging people, we're leveraging capital to scale the businesses that we own. And this is a lot of fun, I really enjoy doing this stuff, as do the people that you're going to hear about today that have been training with us. There's no grind or hustle. Yes, there's work to do, and it takes a bit of time and effort, but there's a lot of fun being a deal maker. And a lot of people think that it's all about money. It's all about just making money and building astronomical wealth. And there is a little bit of that. But, for me, I look at wealth as an instrument of good, to be able to do really good things for people, my family, my community, all those different things. But for me, this is all about legacy. And, what's interesting about Adam and I is we teach this stuff. Obviously, we're coaches, but we have our own private equity company where we're eating our own cooking, as I like to say. We're doing this every single day in our own separate business. So one question that I get asked a lot is just how big is this market? How many deals are out there? And it's staggering, really. Adam and I have done a lot of detailed analysis of the small business acquisition market. And we actually had to build a model to calculate what the numbers were because there's no published data. And we've calculated that right now, today, March 2021, there's just over 2.6 million small businesses for sale. When I say small business, I'm talking about sub $10 million in revenues in the 4 primary countries where we operate. So UK, US, Canada, and Australia. But the most surprising fact is only 1 in 11 of those businesses will sell within the next 12 months. We'll get to why in a minute, but let's just punch through the data. US being by far the largest market. If you take those 4 countries, there's about 39 million businesses. About 7% of them are for sale at any one time. So just a hair under 3 million. And then only about 258,000 of those businesses will actually transact within the next 12 months. So it's about a 1 in 11 hit rate. And that gives us that 2.6, 2.7 million business market for us to target in all of the different niches. And, why 1 in 11? Well, there's a lot of reasons, actually. The big 4 are, number 1, there's just not enough buyers out there who know how to do it or know how to follow a proven business acquisition system or a process. And a lot of buyers, they don't really understand leverage. If you find a business and it's worth $1 million or £1 million, most buyers think, I've got to rock up to the closing table and cut a personal £1 million or $1 million check. You don't. You can use other people's money, OPM for short, to acquire that business. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. And one of the other issues that you'll see is a lot of the businesses that try and sell, one of the reasons they fail is they're not adequately groomed or prepared for sale to a first-time buyer. So for somebody that's coming out of the corporate world, wants to do their first deal, like I did way back in 2008, 2009, that business was perfectly set up for me to buy it. But a lot of businesses aren't. But if you own an existing business, you've got employees, you've got infrastructure, you've got all the things that a good business needs, it's easier for you to go and bolt these little businesses on because you can absorb them into the infrastructure and the business that you already have. And this works in any sector. Myself and Adam, through our own endeavors, and all of the thousands of students that we've taught over the past 5 or 6 years, they're doing this in every sector imaginable. So B2B and engineering and tech and telco and industrial manufacturing, a lot of B2C deals online, even retail, a lot of professional services, IT services, marketing, PR, etc., professional services like CPA and legals. You heard from Darren Jacobs, who's done the big roll up in hair salons, but there's people like Dan Bradbury buying gyms all the time, people buying nail bars, masseuse bars, childcare facilities, and also in healthcare. So clinics, dental, optometry, chiropractors. This works pretty much everywhere. So we're going to get into training in 1 minute. Just before we do that, I think some of you know who we are, some of you don't. You've come through LinkedIn or through Facebook. So let's just spend a minute just telling you, who Adam and I are. If you don't know, I'm the old guy on the right. Adam's the young guy on the left. I've really kind of had more of a Wall Streety financial services career. I started off at Bank of America doing M&A. I did a dual MBA. I did half of it in the UK, I did half of it in Chicago. Then I spent some time in VC, private equity, then did a lot of corporate stuff with HP. Won't bore you with the stats, was party to tons and tons and tons of deals, $48 billion and counting. And then I've got my my wingman, the Batman to my Robin, or vice versa. I don't know. Adam, I'll let you talk about your stuff. Let me grab some water.
So I'm not sure which of us would look good in tights. So we'll just probably avoid the Batman.
Probably not me, my friend.
We'll just avoid the Batman and Robin analogies. But while Carl's background is Wall Street, mine is Main Street, right? Most of my time's been around small businesses through my accounting and finance background and things like that. And ultimately that leads us to where we are. So we take the Wall Street approach and apply it to Main Street. That's what we do. And you can go on to the next slide there, Carl. Where we take this and we combine it. We've got DEALmaker Wealth Society, which is what we're kind of talking through today to some degree, how we teach people to actually acquire businesses. But as Carl said earlier, we eat our own cooking, and we do that through Prox Capital Group, which is our investment firm. I spend a lot of my time running that business. Carl spends a lot of his time on the training side. But for us, we want to be doing deals, and so that's the focus for us. But how does this apply to you, and what does this really look like? Well, first of all, we don't just teach regular people. We interact with some really big names and really, really big influencers out there. So that's Carl and Ty Lopez. If you haven't heard, Ty he's quickly buying what we might call dilapidated brands that are struggling. And these are all examples of deals he's done where he's going in and he's converting these brand names into e-commerce platforms, leveraging the brand equity and buying them at fire sale prices. And he's doing so with kind of group funds and things like that. So Carl's worked with Ty. We've got Grant Cardone. If you can see that was from February of last year when Carl and I went down to Florida to meet with Grant and talk through what it looks like to do business acquisitions with him. So that was a pretty spectacular trip. Robert Kiyosaki, obviously the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, famous author. If you haven't read that book, it's a really good book. It's the core of it, in my opinion, is put your money into things that make you money and cash flow producing assets. Well, Carl is the rich dad of business buying. And then next after him is James Altucher. This was January, beginning of last year. James Altucher, if you don't know him, choose yourself media and all sorts of other things. He's a hedge fund guy, a tech guy, a really, really brilliant guy, has way better hair than Carl and I do.
I know, crazy.
By an absolute mile, there's no doubt, but incredibly smart guy. Carl's been on his podcast a couple of times and done some really killer interviews with him and talking about how you can really leverage businesses to scale and grow wealth. And it's an important thing for everyone to do. So quick example for how this all works. Say you've got a $500,000 plumbing business or whatever business you have. You know, I look at the panel here. We've got a doctor, we've got a supplements, e-commerce company, and we've got an e-learning business just on the panel today. And that's not including anything Carl and I own, right? So let's just use this simplistic example. As Carl talked about earlier, there's a few different ways you can grow. In this case, I'm going to talk about what it looks like to grow through acquiring a complementary business. So in this case, a plumbing business acquires a carpentry business. They're complementary because they serve the same customer base, but they provide a different product or service. So Carl, if you just want to jump through, what does a plumbing service provider get from acquiring a carpentry business? Well, you can take your plumbing services and sell it to the existing customers of the carpentry business. And then you can take the carpentry services and sell it to the customers of the plumbing business. And that's an important thing to realize is when you do that, you're going to consolidate your cost base. You don't need double the accounting. You don't need double the overhead. So you're going to be able to find synergies in your businesses, but you're going to be able to drive additional profit through the cross-selling and increases of revenues where you're just doing what we call internal marketing. You're just selling to the customer list of the other business. Just creates a big opportunity. And why would you want to do this? Listen, by you finding a small business similar to yours in size or form, you can go acquire it at a really attractive multiple. And by doing that, you're going to take a relatively discounted offering in terms of buying profits. You're going to apply cost synergies, you're going to apply earnings growth, and you're going to expand the multiple in which the company's worth. The larger the company or group of companies you own, the more they're worth exponentially. A company making, say, $1 million in profit is going to be worth a lot less in terms of a multiple than if it was making 10 million in profit. And you move further and further until you get to, as Carl's got on here, Apple, which is trading for a far larger times multiple because it's publicly traded and got liquidity. But let's talk numbers, right? So say your business, it's doing $500,000 in revenue. You've got cost of 400,000. So you have a profit margin of 20%. So you're putting 100,000 in your pocket every single year. Well, if you were to sell that business, it would be worth roughly 300,000 at a 3 times multiple. Now let's just assume the business you're going to acquire has all of the same stats. $500,000 in revenue, 400K of cost, 20% of margin. So that owner's also making 100,000. And it's worth 300 as well because it's the same multiple. So what happens when you combine? Well, we first talked about, we talked about cross-selling, right? This is where you can sell your services, the plumbing services, to the carpentry clients, and then the carpentry services to the plumbing clients. And that's going to generate 200 grand of extra revenue. It's a 20% increase in revenue there. You're going to add some cost, obviously, same margin, 20% margins. So 40,000 of extra profit just by merging the two businesses and cross-selling. But you're going to have some cost synergies. You're going to be able to pull out from that total cost base of 960K, you're going to be able to pull out 144,000 of cost, right? You don't need to pay for all the overhead. You can have your same crew leaders, your ops manager covering both businesses and things like that. And so your profit's going to take a big jump. So what do you end up with if you merge these two businesses or combine them through acquisition? Well, you're going to have 1.2 million worth of revenue. You're going to have cost of 816,000. Your profit margin is going to get better because of the synergies to 32%. So you're going to have 384,000 a year of earnings for you, the owner, right? Your multiple's gone up to 4 times. So you now own a combined group of company that's 1.5 million, where they were originally and separately only worth 600,000. So in the span of one acquisition, you can take your 300,000 value and you can more than 5 times the implied enterprise value of the two companies and go from 300 to 1.5 million. There's literally nothing else out there that can generate that kind of wealth for you in terms of enterprise value.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Adam. So let's show you how to do this. So in the time we've got left, I want to give you 4 major hacks. So we're going to delve into this with 4 little mini pieces of training. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about focus. What type of businesses should I buy? We're going to talk about deal flow. Where do you actually find deals that you can plug into the business that you've already got? And then we'll probably answer the single biggest question that most people have. So if I don't have to cut the checks to buy these businesses, how can I buy them using other people's money and have little to no out-of-pocket cash when I'm doing these deals? So let's talk about mindset for a minute. And mindset's really important. You've got to go through a bit of a mindset shift to go from being an owner operator, running your business every day, doing all the hustling and grinding, to then becoming the owner, investor, or owner chairman, if you will, where you're really just doing the needle moving activity. And we boil this down into you essentially really doing 5 things. So as the owner investor of your business, there's really 5 things you should be doing every day. You should be working on mergers, which is bringing 2 businesses together, acquisitions, exits, which is eventually grooming your group of businesses for sale. You could still be working on joint ventures, but then it's the visionary and strategic work that you need to do in terms of your business. So if your business was a bus, you're not the guy or the girl driving the bus. You're the GPS, or you're the map. You're the person that's charting the direction of where the business is going to go without you being in that business every day doing a lot of that tactical work. And most people that you talk to that look at business structures, whether it's Gino Wickman, who's the EOS, the traction guy, or you talk to my friend Michael Gerber, or you talk to Tony Robbins, or all the business gurus out there, most businesses tend to function as a 3-legged stool. So all businesses really do 3 things. The first thing that they do is they do sales and marketing. So they've got to go out and they've got to find new customers to bring into the business. And then you have an operations team that fulfill on that promise, make and deliver the product or the service that the business provides. And then you have a finance and admin team that kind of glue all those different pieces together. And then the person that's driving all that, so the bus driver, this was a bus, is your GM, your general manager, or sometimes called your COO, or what the traction guys call the integrator, the person in the business running the day-to-day, doing a lot of the tactical management. Your role is to sit above that and be the visionary, be that owner, investor of your own group of businesses. And sometimes if you're a solopreneur, you have to sit and play in all those different boxes, all at once. But even if you're a solopreneur, before you get into a place where you want to start doing deals, you need to start outsourcing some of this stuff or hiring people to cover some of this stuff. So you're not in the weeds of your business. You've elevated and ascended yourself, because you need to ascend and elevate yourself before you ascend and elevate your business in terms of growth. And what's interesting about building this kind of framework then is you start to get people in and around your business that can help you with a lot of this deal making activity. So you need to lean on external advisors that you might have. So you'll have a CPA or accountant if you're in the UK, or a lawyer. Those people you can task to do the due diligence, which is making sure the business is safe to buy and writing up the legal documentation that you will have when you acquire a company. You as the owner investor, really, you're all about creating the deal specification. What's the perfect business that I should be buying? What's my mission statement? What's the vision for how I want my business to be in the future? And then probably going out and meeting a lot of the businesses that you find that want to sell. Your management team can then do a lot of that deal vetting for you, probably even come to some of the meetings. If you have financial people in your business, or you're relying on your external CPA or accountant, they can do a lot of the financial modeling, the financial work to value the business, structure how it's going to work, raise all the capital that you need to buy it, etc. And then your sales and marketing people, they can be your deal flow engine, because they've got their ears to the ground of your particular industry. They can be going out and finding those opportunities for you. So once you've figured out, once you've got your mindset really nailed down in the right place, the next big question you need to ask yourself is, well, what type of business should I go and buy? And it's different for everybody. The type of business that Adam and I will acquire is going to be very, very different to the type of business that you will acquire. And we break the focus down into 3 elements. So every deal that you look at really needs to tick these 3 boxes. We call it the perfect deal triad. So the first box it needs to tick is strategically, the deal has to make sense. Is it going to move the needle in the business you already have? So if you own a supplements company, you wouldn't go and buy a laundromat or a 7-Eleven or a gas station. Silly example, but you want to be buying something that's strategically going to fit to what you've already got. And it's all about buying the customers that you need to grow, buying the products and services that you need to grow, but you don't want to develop internally, acquiring the talent that you need to grow, but not having to get it organically, bringing it in from the business that you buy. You might want to go and buy a different location. So we'll hear from Natasha in a while, who owns a concierge medical facility near Washington, D.C. If Natasha's goal was to be in 10 different cities, rather than her going out and building those from scratch, you can just go and buy them using this model, because that you'll get the existing revenue, the cash flow, and the assets when you acquire that existing business. So once you've figured out that the deals that you're going to do are going to move the needle for you strategically, then the next point is, who is the seller? And ideally, you're looking to find what we call a distressed seller of a good business. Not the other way around. Sometimes you'll find a good seller of a distressed business. You don't particularly want to buy distressed businesses. It's a suicide move for your first deal. However, you can argue that if you've got a big, thriving existing company, bolting on a small distressed company, is something that you can do. You might just bolt on the customers and the products and services that they have and just leave everything else behind. But really, the more profitable the business is, the better it's doing, actually the easier it is to buy and the finance, and the easier it is to integrate. And what you're really looking for is somebody that owns a good business, but has a high degree of motivation to want to exit. They could be looking to retire. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day in North America, and a ton of them own small businesses. They could be entrepreneurs that have got to a certain level and they just got bored. They could be frustrated, burnt out, sick. Sadly, could even be dying in some cases. You want somebody that's got that really high motivation to want to come out of the business. And then once you've found the types of sellers that you need to target, the third thing you need is you need some level of financial DNA. And we're talking about doing something called an LBO, which is a fancy Wall Street term where I actually learned how to do this. But an LBO is basically a leverage buyout. It's buying a business using other people's money and using the existing resources of the business that you're buying. And all LBOs, the deals that we're doing, ideally need to have assets or cash flow, or ideally both. So next, you figured out, I know now what type of business I want to buy. I've come up with a deal specification, because if there's 2.6 million businesses out there, how do you know which is a good deal and which is a bad deal? So now you'll know if you go through the triad. Next, it's all about, where do I find these businesses? And first, it's all about size. So ideally, you want to be looking in the kind of $500,000 to $10 million revenue range. You don't really want to go below $500,000, because it takes the same amount of time to do a small deal as it does to do a large deal. So you're getting a bigger bang for your buck, bigger return on your time and effort by slightly doing larger deals. And then really, when you go above the 10 million revenue mark, not only do you see the valuations go up through the multiple chart Adam shared, but that 1 in 11 closing rate starts to change, because there's a lot of large private equity companies and a lot of big trade buyers that are buying in the kind of 10 to 100 million range. So if you stick to the kind of $500,000 to 10 million range, there's not a lot of competition there. And we found that 1 to 5 million in revenues is really where the sweet spot is. And what we're leveraging through this model is seller psychology. And it's what I call the 90-10 rule. So when I worked on mega corporate deals, especially when I was at HP and I was involved in a lot of that stuff, those deals, the 10% psychology and 90% numbers. It's really just a game of financial engineering. There's no real emotion and feeling in those deals. But when you get into the small sector that we're playing at, especially sub 5 million, it's all about psychology. It's 90% psychology and 10% numbers. You're dealing with sellers in some cases that have been in their businesses 20, 30, even 40 years and have spent more time in their businesses than they have with their own families. And it's like giving up their children. So there's a lot of emotional attachment to it that we play on through the way we negotiate and the way we structure these deals. And just to give you an example, just imagine you find two businesses and they're completely identical. They're in the same town, they do the same product or service, they've got the same income statement, the same balance sheet, everything is exactly the same. The only difference is the seller, but more importantly, what the seller's kind of mindset and motivation is. And take the guy on the left. Let's say he owns the business, he's an entrepreneur in his 30s, he's happy, he's having a lot of fun. I've noticed my buddy Dave Levine's on the call. He owns a great technology company in the UK. He'd be like the guy on the left. He's in his 30s, he's happy, he's having a lot of fun, he's killing it. And whilst all businesses are for sale, it's just a question of how much, he's going to want a pretty hefty multiple to sell his business. And he's going to want most, if not all of that money at closing in terms of cash. Whereas if Dave was in his 60s or maybe younger, but was retiring, was frustrated, was burnt out, was distressed, had a big emotional attachment to his business and really just needed to leave, even though the business was performing very, very well, he might be prepared to sell for a 2x to a 3x multiple, that what Adam alluded to before, but he might be prepared to take the bulk of his money actually later and allow the cash flow of the business after you buy it to make a lot of those payments for you to buy it. And deal flow is all about two things. It's all about leveraging the numbers game. So it's a bit like sales. If you've ever worked in sales, you're a sales guy, you build a sales funnel, you feed the beast, you fill it with opportunities and leads, and then you qualify them, you filter them, and then you pursue, negotiate, and you close those deals. It's exactly the same in deal making. It's pretty rare for you to find one random business and follow it all the way through to closing. You need a lot of different deals to come in. So it's all about feeding the beast. We'll show you where to get the deal flow in a minute, qualifying those deals, filtering them against that triad that we went through, remember, qualifying them against your deal specification, what would make a perfect deal for you. And then if you've got 5 or 10 deals that are really strong in that funnel, you're going to close at least one of them. And what's really interesting about this at the small end of the market is it's a lot more about relationships than it is about financial analysis. So relationships are key because these businesses are changing hands between people. You may own a business right now, but you're the owner of the business. You're buying the other business from a human being. So it's a lot about personal interaction, a lot about personal relationships. And what we found, Adam and I, and the thousands of students that we taught through these programs, is the more time you invest in building relationships, building that trust, building that credibility, building that rapport, getting them to know you, like you, and trust you. After a certain period of time, there comes that tipping point where then you can get a lot more creative and flexible on how you're actually going to structure that deal. So I could spend all day talking to you about deal origination, which I'm not going to do. So I'm going to give you my kind of 4 quick methods that we typically use. We teach about 10 in our programs, but here are the 4 that we typically use. Most people start with business brokers, and we think that's a big mistake, and I'll tell you why. Business brokers, on the whole, it's an unregulated, inefficient, and in my opinion, not a professional industry. They overhype valuation.
Can I just jump in on this, Carl? You know, I'll equate business brokers for the tortoise and the hare, right? We all know that fable. It's really easy to get started to just go to any of these websites and say, boom, I want a deal, I want a deal, I want a deal, I want a deal. So you get really started out fast, but the challenge is the likelihood of you closing those deals goes down tremendously. So they're easy to get started and it feels good. There's an instant gratification of just going on and jumping on. The reality is they are much, much harder to close long term. So.
Yeah. Okay. And but the benefit with brokers, I suppose, is the business is for sale because somebody's held their hands up, they've gone to a broker, they're selling their business on a website, whether it's BizBuySell, BizQuest, LoopNet. You've got companies like Transworld, Benchmark. You've got KBS Corporate. If you're in the UK, there's all these different brokers. We only typically work with brokers when the deals have been listed for at least 9 months, because by then that inflated valuation that's been put on the deal by the broker, an average broker will sell 1 in 20 companies. So it's actually worse than the average hit rate. So by all means, use brokers as part of your deal origination strategy, but there are 3 better methods that you can leverage. So Adam and my favorite method is to build a relationship network. So it's to build a network of deal intermediaries, because if you're a small business owner and you wake up one day and you think, you know what, I think it's time for me to sell this business. Who do you go tell? You go tell 4 people. First of all, you go tell your wealth manager or your financial planner. Say, hey, I'm going to sell my business this year. I might make some money. I'm going to want you to invest it to provide for my future. So if you're networking with wealth managers, it's a fantastic source of deal flow. They'll be sending you deals in droves. The second are CPAs or accountants in small towns. I'm not talking about, the big 4 accountancy firms like Deloitte or KPMG. I'm talking about the smaller practices who are advising these kind of $1 to $10 million businesses, because networking with those people, not only can you work with them once you get into the closing phase of a deal, but they're going to have phenomenal sources of deal flow because they're talking to these business owners every single day. The same would go for attorneys or lawyers. Again, you should be building relationships with these people as well. And then sellers will also, before they pull the trigger, will go and talk to financiers or their bank, anyone that's got money invested or flowing through the business. So if you're building a relationship network with all of these different deal intermediaries, that is a phenomenal source of deal flow. And then one of the methods that is getting a lot of traction these days, I wish we had this back in the 90s when I started my corporate deal making career, is leveraging social media. So back when I started in the bank, we had this thing called a Quotron, which is a big, ugly device, green screen with all the numbers flying across. We didn't have Facebook and Google and the internet and YouTube and Clubhouse, which is this new big social media thing. So leveraging social media for deal flow, LinkedIn's another big one, is absolutely huge. We've had some phenomenal deals come out of just connecting and building relationships with these types of people. And then my old personal favorite is the direct approach, which is actually writing letters to business owners in niches that are attractive to you. And it's very easy to pull a list, a database of these businesses. There's a lot of free or very low cost services online that you can subscribe to. Build a list, you can get all of their personal details, and then you write to them in a really private and confidential way about whether they'd be interested in selling their businesses to you. So those are the 4 major methods of deal origination that we'll go into a lot more detail through our coaching programs. So Adam, can you talk about OPM, other people's money, and about
exactly.
this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the example I talked about earlier, right? You remember this, the 2 businesses, they're complementary, you're buying them, you're getting synergies, you're getting increases in revenue. Well, what you're doing is, how can I actually facilitate the purchase of my target acquisition? So there's 6 ways really you can finance these things. So if you just want to tick over to the next slide there, Carl, there's six ways, right? First is you can find surplus cash in the business and use that for a closing payment. What is surplus cash? We typically see this in the UK more than we do in the US, just because of the way entity structures work here in the US. But in the UK, for example, there's something called entrepreneur's relief, where a seller will actually leave a lot of extra cash in the business. So when they go to exit the business, they can take that cash out as part of the transaction and pay a lot less taxes. You've got seller financing, which should be a part of pretty much every deal you do. This is where the seller of the business is holding the note or holding the paper, if you will. hey, I'm going to pay you $3,000 a month for the next 3 years. Therefore, you're getting paid just over 100 grand over that period of time, right? The seller is the bank in that particular case. A line of credit. As an existing business owner, this is huge. This is where you can really go out and lever your existing business to buy another one. And I'll talk about that when I get to point 6. Equity, this is you just putting in cash straight out of your pocket or leveraging partners who have cash to come in and bring equity to close the deal. Asset-backed loans. You've got major asset groups within the business. These are receivables, inventory, equipment, other fixed assets. You can actually lever against those, put debt against those, and use that debt to fund the closing payment. And then finally, here in the US, and we have something called the SBA 7A or 504 loans. But globally, you can do things called cash flow loans where you're actually getting debt against the future cash flows of the business. The SBA program is a cash flow loan program, and I can talk about that more when we get to the deal structures here in a minute. So, hey, look, I'm going to buy this $500,000 revenue business. I'm going to pay $300,000 for it. Remember, 3 times multiple on the 100K of net. So how would I structure this? Well, if I'm doing, say, an example LBO style structure, I might say have $50,000 of surplus cash on the balance sheet. Should be able to maybe get $100,000 of asset financing or cash flow loans. This could be, from inventory or equipment, like I said, or accounts receivable. And then finally, the seller can hold the balance, $150,000 over 3 years. So I'd pay them $50,000 a year for 3 years. Conversely, I could just do a $250,000 over 3 years at an 8% coupon rate, so $105 a year. You have to realize you're going to be generating significant profits from the synergies of your business and their business. You're going to have plenty of debt cover, and that's what that little ratio there is in the corner. Can your new profits cover the actual debt requirements to pay out all of these expected payments? So in this case, you're adding something where you're going to put, in this example, no money in, and you're going to walk away putting a net of $280,000 roughly in your pocket. That's a pretty good day at the office. Yeah. So the next one, and this would be very common here in the US, and I think the preferred route for a lot of small business owners as they look to do an acquisition, is the SBA. Why? It's cheap debt. So same $300,000 purchase price. The buyer has to put in equity. So this is you having to come up with $30,000, and it might be a hair more than that just because of some closing costs. And I'll talk about that in 1 second. The seller's going to hold a note for $30,000. So you put in 10% of the deal, they put in 10% of the deal. And then finally, the loan, the SBA loan, is going to cover the rest, the other 80%. Now that 80% is paid out over 10 years. Carl's got an 8% rate in here, but the reality is it's going to be a little bit less than that here in the US. But again, you've got an incredible cover ratio. Can you imagine having a business where you're going to add and combine and cross-sell to where your expected cash flow is going to be $380,000, and you've only got to pay $35,000 a year to actually generate that total cash flow? Now, if you ignore the $100,000 you were already making in your existing business, you're adding a net of almost $250,000 a year going into your pocket after paying for the loan. So real quick, a quick aside on the SBA loan. I'm sure some people might have questions on this. Right now, there is something
Q&A at the end, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do Q&A at the end. Just to preface on that with the SBA, this does look like I need to come up with $30,000 of cash. Well, remember, if you've got an existing business, you can pull that out of your existing business. You can, if you have a line of credit in your existing business, if you have assets in your existing business, you can finance those, pull the cash out, and then take that cash as your buyer's equity here. And then additionally, right now, if you do SBA loans, there's certainly opportunities, and we'll get in specifics a little bit later, where timing is really important. There's stuff going on because of Corona and the pandemic that make it really important. If you're going to use an SBA loan and acquire a business here in the US, now is really the time to take advantage of some things the SBA's got going on, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Adam. So let's do a quick kind of mid-course wrap. So To summarize, acquisitions will absolutely turbocharge the growth in your business, in any business. I define any business that cannot grow by acquiring other businesses. And you've seen the leverage and the multiplying effect that this can do, financially. And this allows you to be more like an owner investor. So it's working on your business, doing deals, versus in your business doing stuff, all the tactical daily stuff that you really shouldn't be doing. You should be spending your time doing deals. And buying businesses will allow you to buy revenue and products and services and customers and cash flow and assets and talent to save you having to go and hustle and find all that organically in the marketplace. And you can buy competitors, you can buy suppliers, you can buy those complementary businesses, and you can also do those roll-ups and have lots and lots of different businesses in the same niche. And as we've said, this is a huge market opportunity, 2.6 million deals that are potentially available. And that's only going to increase post-COVID-19. A lot of businesses have survived through COVID. Some of them have even thrived. But it's almost like, the saying we have in the UK is the straw that breaks the camel's back. A lot of people have said, hey, you know what? I got through 9/11. I got through all the recessions. I got through the global financial crisis. I've got through COVID. I'm done. Let somebody else take the business over. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and this is only going to increase. And the beauty to this is, and it's a myth that you need all this cash in your bank account personally to do these deals. You don't. You can use other people's money. You can leverage the transaction both through external financing or you can leverage the resources that the company already has. And staying on the theme of, more being the coach of the team, the coach of the business, not the driver of the bus, you can leverage both people in your business and your external advisors to actually do these deals and close them for you. So if this is appetizing for you, if this is appealing for you as an additional lever to grow your business, then as of right now, you've got 4 choices. You can stay as you are. You can carry on growing organically if you want to, even though we think it's a lot harder. You can take this training. We'll get you copies of these slides. You can go and watch it through a few more times and then go and implement and acquire a business on your own. You might think, well, no, I don't want to do that. I'll just go hire somebody. You can pay $50, $100, $500,000 even to find somebody that will do all this work for you and do these deals. Or there's an opportunity for a few of you, if you want, to actually work with us. So let me talk to you about that just for a minute. And so we have a program, Adam and I, that we built called DEALmaker Empire. So it's how to build your empire, how to create generational wealth through acquisitions. And this is, I don't know about you, Adam, I don't want to speak for you as well, but this is our legacy. This is our life's work, all of the deals and experience that we've got. And if you add Adam and I and our lead coach, John McElroy, who's a phenomenal Canadian deal maker that's part of our team, we've got 70 plus years of deal making experience between us, both the big corporate stuff and the small stuff as well. And we've done over 450 deals between the 3 of us. So there's nothing in this world of deal making that we haven't seen. And it took us a whole year to build and test and perfect and optimize this training that I'm about to show you. And we did some pretty extensive testing with a very small focus group. You saw some of them before. Peter, you'll hear from in a minute. Chris and Darren and Michael and Lindsay and all these other people. And for us, we absolutely believe this is the most sophisticated M&A training education that you're ever going to see. And it breaks down, it's a 10-week program. So this isn't, we'll just give you some videos, you go away, you watch them, and you figure it all out. This is an implementation system. We hold you by your collective hands over a 10-week period. So there's 8 training modules, and we go through all of the training with you. You do the work, then we mentor you on a group call every week. And there's some really sophisticated tools in here that I wouldn't say I've stolen from my corporate world, but some of these tools that we're going to give you, I've used on billion-dollar transactions, and they work beautifully for the types of businesses that we're doing. So we guide you through this, Carl, myself, Adam, and John, over a 10-week period. There's accountability in this. We hold your feet to the fire. We want you to do the work. That there's an investment to come and work with us, and we make sure that you're going to get a return on that by actually doing the work that you need to do. And it's really intimate. You know, this isn't one of these groups where there's thousands and thousands of people. We deliberately keep this super small and super intimate. Absolute maximum 30 people, probably less. This is not evergreen. You're all going to go through this together. And this is an MBA level education with the most sophisticated tools and training that you'll have ever seen in this marketplace. And there's 8 modules. I'll just quickly whiz you through them. We go really deep into the mindset and really get you through that shift of positioning so that you can work on your business doing deals versus in your business doing stuff. We then will take you through a process of really honing in on what the perfect deal looks like for you. We call it the one sheet, what that deal looks like versus what it doesn't look like. So when you're out there doing deal origination, which is step 3, you know exactly what a good deal looks like and what doesn't, and how it's going to move the needle for you. We go really, really deep on deal origination. We show you all the methodologies that we're leveraging to find really high quality deal flow. A lot of it is off market deal flow. So it's deals that they're not broker listed. These are deals that no one else will have access to. And we show you how to build those relationships and how to find those deals yourself. And then we walk you through how to build relationships with sellers. I know you guys will know how to do this with customers, suppliers, advisors, but if you've never bought a company before, there's a lot of psychology around how to do it. We go deep on how that all works. And then Adam's whizzed you through some of the simple deal structuring methodology that we have. You know, how you structure deals, how do you check that they're actually going to work. But there's a whole kind of week and module on that, including a lot of the tools that we talked about. So you can value, structure, and finance a deal. It takes about 15 minutes using the tools that we've actually given you. It would take you 5 years if you were to try and do it on your own. And then we walk you through how to make offers and how to negotiate and how to have a lot of fun through doing it whilst you're always steps ahead of the sellers in the actual process. And then there's a whole deep dive on financing. We have a Rolodex in there that's probably worth millions and millions of dollars that we're giving you guys to. These are all financiers that we approve for the financing structures that we recommend. We'll even show you how to work with them and what their processes are so that you're going through the journey with them in the right way. And then we share how to get the deals across the line, how to get CPAs and attorneys working on your deals with you, even for contingent fees, so that you can realize that goal of acquiring that business. And Adam, we'll open the panel in a minute. I just want you guys to hear this little message that we got from Kevin Dillon. So Kevin's one of our current students, actually. He's in Australia, and he's buying up medical facilities. And it's middle of the night for him, even though I think there's a New Zealander on this call. But he apologized he couldn't make the panel. But I was chatting to him the other day, and I recorded part of the conversation. I said to him, like, can I play this clip? He's like, yeah, go for it. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to take my hands off so it doesn't stop.
Australia's largest healthcare, Australia's second largest primary healthcare player has 90 clinics. I think we can. I think within the next few years, I think we could be Australia's second largest primary healthcare player, and with enough time, I think we could be the first one. Yeah. So
how many does the largest have?
160.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then the second one has about 90 or so. So yeah, look, I think we could get to 90 relatively easily. I mean, within the next 2-3 years, I think it's really possible. Because I mean, probably these doctors want to retire. Yeah. So I really think
Yeah.
So I think second largest is. Yeah.
So when you get to 10, I'm personally going to fly to Melbourne to be there. I want to be there at the closing of the 10th one. I know that's base camp, whatever, in terms of the big picture. I definitely want to be there, with you for sure. And
thank you, Carl. Thank you.
When you look at this journey now, obviously, you've had a pretty successful life and career today, especially in the real estate side. But if you look at yourself now as as a deal maker, as a business buyer? Like what changes has it made in your, in your life, the life of your family, just kind of how you feel?
So okay. So what it is that I worry less about money. Okay, there's a quote by Henry Ford, saying, Henry Ford, like when he was an old man, what are you going to do when, if you were to lose all your fortune, like what are you going to do the next day? And Henry Ford's answer was like, oh man, in 2 or 3 years time, I'm going to have it all back. And I love that answer, just the power in that answer. And so I feel, with Carl, what you've taught me is that, you know what I mean? Like, so even if I lost everything, within 2 or 3 years, I could have it all back, whereas I guess with previous strategies, I don't think I could say that, because, with real estate, you get it, and there's a little appreciation. Like, you really need time to let real estate percolate. You can't, I guess with what I was doing with, with buying holds and rentals and things like that, you really got to let it percolate. Whereas I think with this, it's, it gives you the power to again, you could create the fortune again. Like it's possible.
All right, Adam. Let's hear from some of our other past and current students on the panel.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, we'll just do a round of introductions. So we've got Natasha, we've got Dan, and we've got Peter, all students and friends of Carl and ours. Carl and mine, I should say, as we've taught them and worked with them on deals. So just to kind of get things started, Natasha, we'll start with you. Tell us who you are in 10 seconds, if you will, and what got you into business buying, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm a physician. I'm a family physician. I own a concierge medicine medical practice, and I work in it in basically greater Washington, D.C. area. We have a wonderful practice model that provides excellent care, and I want to provide it to more people. And when I realized that Carl could teach me how to acquire other people's businesses, at the moment of retirement, this is a huge problem in medicine. People retire by just closing shop because they're not business people and they just go away, and then all those patients have to find another doctor. So Carl and Adam have given me a fantastic training. I am just about to go give it to myself again, the training of the 8 weeks I needed to take again. I was contemplating business school. I've been working for 20 years. I thought I love the business aspect of this. Maybe I should infuse myself with an executive MBA, which my husband has done over time. I still have 3 kids at home and 1 out of the house, and I don't want to spend all that time in business school. This has been spectacular. It's been a completely excellent investment. It is really, really efficient. We get a lot done. And then because I'm already working in a business, there's a lot of practical application, so I can just go and implement some of this stuff. Whereas I think if I had gone to school, I would have done a lot of modeling on things that weren't about my own life, which would have been helpful. But this is really, really practical.
Fantastic, fantastic. So one would say Empire is better than the MBA, I think is what I heard out of that.
It's certainly way more efficient, way more possible to do while I want to be available at night for my kids. And, it starts with balance. I would say that you guys are not advocating being insane in terms of a lifestyle. You're really advocating balance, kind of guiding me to getting myself to a point where I can be working more on my business and less within my business, which is a process. And I think ultimately it'll be much more specifically kind of lean and applicable in terms of what I'm learning for where I need to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about balance as it relates with time. And I know that's a very interesting thing as a business owner, as I'm a business owner as well. You might have kids at home, as you do, and you've got the obligations of the day job, so to speak. But being a business owner, have you found this to fit in with your schedule, found this to fit in with the opportunity where the misconception of I don't have time for this, the reality is, how does that fit in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm building blocks to get to that point. I still feel like I have a lot of operationality. I do have a ton of time I'm spending within my current business, but I've see some stepping stones to change that over time. I've only been in this program for 8 weeks, so it's a new experience. Part of what we get out of the program is exposure to people who have been kind of doing this type of work already. They've already, I would say I'm the least experienced person probably on these calls, even though I've been running my business for 5 years. Many people are way further down the pipeline. They have a lot of practical tips and experience to offer. And I just feel comfortable that I'm going to get there.
Well, great. No, perfect. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Natasha. Really appreciate it. And the reality is, guys, that you don't have to, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Business buying isn't something that happens overnight. It's about taking those foundational steps and building that within the balance of the business you have, right? What does this look like? We're talking about a few hours a week. And for someone as busy as Natasha is in running her medical practice and all of that, you know, it's really important that you can realize that, listen, you can do it too. I mean, she's running a multi-doctor facility and she's the managing partner of it. And it's important for someone of that caliber and that position to be able to take this course and get value out of it. I think it's amazingly, you know, successful in that regard. So Natasha, thank you so much. I know you've got to go, busy medical professional. So we'll let you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, thanks for the good work in the program. We're looking forward to celebrating your first deal acquisition as well. So thank you so much. All right, so going to move over to Peter. Peter, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, guys.
Hey, Peter.
Perfect. So Peter, you've got a long relationship with us. You've certainly worked with Carl and I, and certainly we had fun back in San Diego. Sadly, now a year and a half ago, we've got to hopefully get back together in person.
Looking forward to it.
Now that we're a shorter drive apart,
yes.
It's feasible. So tell us a little bit about how the training has really impacted your ability to grow and changed your mindset around acquisition being the best tool for growth, as opposed to struggling and fighting through every other, you know, organic style of growth, if you will.
Sure. So I've done it both ways. I actually started a different supplement company in, I think it was 2013, and we grew that organically to mid 8 figures. And then I basically turned the reins over to senior management to run on a day-to-day basis. I spun out some products that didn't fit exactly with the demographic that the majority of those products were focused on. Mm-hmm. And so my focus was on building another company around the products that I spun out, which was an older demographic. And so, you know, when I did that, you know, it's a big mountain in front of you because you want to get to where you were previously, which was, again, a mid 8-figure company. And we were, you know, a small 7-figure company with only one product actually that we spun out.
Right.
So before I was aware of Carl, the thought was, you know what, I'll do it again. We'll do it organically. We'll do all the heavy lifting. We'll get there, you know, eventually 5-10 years. But then when I came across Carl and I listened to what was possible, it just made a ton of sense, you know. So back and forth, talked to some of the other students he had worked with, some of the deals that they had closed, and you know, light bulb went off and said, hey, let's give it a shot. What do we got to lose? And so I got involved in the program. Fortunately, I did have some staff, so I did have an employee that was able to help me with the deal origination piece of it, and work really closely with Carl and team. And we were successful in finding lots of other opportunities. We vetted them. We eventually closed on one in mid 2019. It's been fully added to my other company now, and we've more than doubled our top line. And it's just been a fantastic way to add, more than just our initial goal, which was revenues and customers. We've added superior brand, right? We've added improved market position. We've got a ton of great new products, whereas we had 2 products before. We'd grown to 2 before the acquisition. We added 50 more, right? Great products. We added experienced employees, right? That brought talents that my company needed. And we added the direct mail expertise. My prior company the expertise was strictly in email and online marketing. Now
Right.
we're direct mail, online marketing, email marketing, juggernaut in the supplement space.
Yeah, and the benefit is, so you identified people on your team to help you with the process. So you weren't doing all the work yourself. So
Correct.
leveraging of the training, how to identify, how to have them do that work for you, maximizes your value. And think about what he just said. He could have taken 5 to 10 years to try to double his business in the way he was doing it, but through an acquisition a couple of years ago, not only saw the massive increase in the revenue, I'm presuming the earnings as well have gone up commiserately, but more importantly, you found cross-selling opportunities. I think there's probably a significant amount of growth that happened because you circled around more products and services that could be cross-promoted to each other in terms of the customer bases, and that added even more value on top of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And would you say you could have ever done that, or thought of doing that, or realized you could have done it without going through the course and without going through the training and working with Carl?
No, I wasn't aware of what was possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's here, you're hearing it firsthand. You're aware that this is possible now, that acquisition as a business owner can be the key to growth. And that's a really powerful thing. Peter, anything else you want to throw in? Lessons learned?
Yeah, I would just say that, and I think it's been alluded to, but it hasn't been said explicitly. It truly is the case that if you're bolting on, the right company, you can really get a 1 + 1 = 3 type of result, right? And that is through all the other synergies, the adding revenues without adding costs, adding cross-sell and upsell opportunities, right? Just to an expanded customer base, improving your brand. There's a lot of things that you don't think of necessarily when you're just looking to add revenues, and add customers that fall out of it.
Yeah, and it's not just the financial side either. It's I don't know if people have heard of it, but it's the acqui-hire, right? It's acquiring talent through.
It sure is.
Someone who's running that business or working in that business can be a really talented A player, a really great player. Now they're working on your business, your combined group, and they can leverage their skill sets and knowledge across. And to me, talent acquisition, revenue acquisition, customer acquisition, these are all value adds that come just from acquiring a business, and that's real, and you've experienced it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we've been working on our next acquisition for a few months now. We've put out some offers. Hopefully we'll see some success, but we just continue. It's a funnel, right? So you just keep adding opportunities to the top of the funnel. You make offers that make sense to you, and and you'll see some come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. It's always better to buy a company that works for you than trip over yourself to buy one that doesn't, right? Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
To me, it's one of those golden rules within deal making for sure. Well, thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. Dan is a great student of ours. He's pretty much been through every training program we've got. Is now a business owner as a result of it. And Dan and Prox, the investment firm Carl and I have, we went under LOI on a deal on Friday. So we're hopefully going to get off to the races to close that. So Dan, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience, and if you're talking to other business owners here, why going through Empire and why getting this training is it's the must next step as a business owner. I know you're looking at bolt-ons right now, which is why, even though we've got a relationship, you've jumped into the training as well.
Absolutely. So what we acquired actually in December was a custom e-learning company. So they develop custom training for larger businesses in general. That industry is really fragmented as far as there's no real, 800-pound gorilla there. There's a lot of smaller players. And once you've got the core company, the add-ons work really well because they're very regional. So you can build up a nice business by tacking on other regions. Since this company that we bought had the, Dallas-Fort Worth region really well done, but everything outside of there is not. So what we're targeting is other companies in other regions to increase the size of the business. Now, knowing that we are going to do that because we are good students of Carl and Adam, and that we were going to be doing more acquisitions, the way I looked at this training is that so Natasha had mentioned that it's better than an MBA. One of my partners is nodding at me saying, yes, it's absolutely better than an MBA because he has a very expensive MBA. The other part is it's a whole lot cheaper than an MBA. Like a lot of other things in life, having somebody there as a coach or mentor who's been there before cuts out a whole lot of the mistakes that you can make on your own. Because okay, Carl, cover your ears for a second. In the end, none of this is really magic, but it takes a whole lot of trial and error to learn. Okay, you can take them off. Earmuffs off. So what Carl and Adam provide is that history of trial and error that they have learned by so that you don't have to. So the training really goes from knowing nothing to acquiring a business and how to get through that whole process. It really is an A to Z kind of approach. Given that it covers everything, and they've got some great calculators in there that help you evaluate the businesses that you're going to be buying, make sure they're the right businesses so you avoid a lot of mistakes along the way. In the end, if this is something you're going to do anyway, the coaching will help accelerate you to get there quicker. And you're going to recover the cost of the course with one deal, right? So the profit you pull out of one acquisition is going to more than pay for this course, which is, the online portions of the learning and the recorded videos, I'm assuming also, are available to you for forever, right? Forever? Forever.
Forever.
Yes?
Yeah, if you're here today, you're getting the and Dan, you'll be a part of their lives forever as well.
Forever. I'm sorry, guys. So the reality is, with one deal, you're going to make up the cost of the course easily. And if their experience can help you from making lots of errors, and it can, then for us it was a no-brainer because we knew we were going to do bolt-ons anyway, and this way they happen faster. Now we've got a lot of LOIs out at the moment for bolt-ons to this e-learning company, in addition to, on the side, doing that other Prox deal for a different kind of company. This is, we're bought in. This is what we're doing for life here. So looking at it as just from an investment and return, since you're going to make this up with one deal, using their experience to avoid a lot of mistakes makes all the difference in the world. Makes it worth it.
Before we get to everyone's Q&A, Carl, do you want to just jump back through and let's talk about DealMaker Empire with some specifics and what that investment actually looks like?
Yeah, loads of you have blown me up in the chat and on social media as well about, this is great, but how much and what's the investments can work with you guys? And, just think about it. The deal that Adam talked you through, and you've heard from Peter and Dan and Kevin and Natasha, but if you just did that one small deal, Adam talked about a deal that was tiny in reality, but if you did one tiny small deal, that $500,000 revenue deal, if you 5x your net worth in 3 months, what would that be worth to you in terms of an investment? Remember the numbers: 5.1 times increase in value. And going back to Dan's comment, would you pay $100,000 to generate a $1.2 million increase in your net worth? Would you generate a 12x? If you gave me $1 and I gave you $12 back, you'd play that game, you know, all day long. But obviously, I wish it was, but this isn't a $100,000 program. We think $25,000 is a better price point. But even at $25,000 to come train with us for those 10 weeks, that's still giving you a 48x return on your investment if you do one small deal. So Adam and I sat down, and this is a $25,000 program, and we thought, let's do something really amazing to work with some very, very special people. So we've decided to do this for $10,000. $10,000 for 10 weeks. And then after those 10 weeks, if you want to carry on working with us and be part of the group to do your second, third, fourth, 10th, 100th deal. If you want to be like Kevin, who I failed to mention at the start, he's closed his first 4 deals very, very quickly. He's got 6 more under contract that will close by the end of this year. Then in 3 years, he wants to be the second largest healthcare group in Australia with about 90 businesses. So he'll probably have, I'm guessing, you know, a $500 million company. All for a $10,000 investment. So if you want to do this with us, it's going to be $10,000 for the whole 10 weeks. And then it's $1,000 per month if you want to work with us beyond that. And it's an application process, which we'll talk about in a minute. So if you've got your credit card out, you're ready to do it. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. We want you guys to pitch us on why we should have you work with us inside of this program. It's got to be a fit that works for all sides. So the next group, the next live 10-week session starts from the 14th of April. So what are we now? We're on the 22nd of March. So in about 3 weeks' time. And there's a really cool bonus that we're going to throw in. So Adam and I occasionally do one-on-one consulting, and we charge $10,000 for 2 calls. So it's $5,000 for a 45-minute call. That's what we charge corporations. So we're actually going to throw 2 of these in as part of this offer. So you get a kickoff call with us, either me or Adam, or sometimes it's both, where we'll really kind of focus in on your strategy and your vision and what you're looking to do. And then you get what we call a 911 call or a 999 call. So at any time during the journey, whilst you've got access to us every day through the group and on the weekly group mentoring calls, you can have that one-on-one call to, you know, pitches on the deal. You never know if it needs equity. You know, Adam and I, our procs business could do that as well. So we're going to throw that in. So we're giving you $35,000 of value for 10K. We're going to give you a link in a minute to apply. We want this to be a great fit for everybody. It's not that we're super selective on who we want to work with, but we're looking for people that are hungry. We're looking for people that get this. We're looking for people that, you know, are going to do the work. I think it's a shame in a way that it's not $150,000, because I know you'll implement it if it is. $10,000 we think is just at that little tipping point where you'll take it seriously and you'll do the work. So this is all about execution. Execution trumps knowledge every single time. So fill in the application, then I'm going to interview you. Adam might be on the calls as well, but I want to do all those calls. This is not a sales call. You're not going to talk to a sales guy. You're going to talk to me. We'll talk about your business. We'll talk about your goals. We'll talk about where you want to get to and how acquisitions can get you there. And if we both think that this is going to work, we'll then roll you into the program. And even if it doesn't, even if we decide, no, let's not do it, you know, a 45-minute call with me, I'm hoping you see as valuable. So you're going to get a lot of value out of that process. So application form, 6 quick questions. You know, who are you? Where are you? What sector? What size? What niche? You know, what challenges do you have right now? And because it's cool, acquisitions can solve a lot of the challenges that you may have in your business, but we want businesses that you're growing and you're doing some really good stuff. And if you've acquired a business before, you know, that's also interesting, but that's not mandatory. If you've never, like Peter, he'd never acquired a business. Dan had never acquired a business. Kevin had never acquired a business. It doesn't matter. It's better in a way because then you learn our methodology from those 70 combined years. So this is the link. We've put it in the chat, but it's dealmakerwealth.com/empire. So dealmakerwealth.com adamandeve.com/empire. So thanks, guys. Appreciate your time and attention. We'll do some Q&A, but just before we do the Q&A, just want to give you some kind of like last minute thoughts. So today we have walked you through very quickly. You know, we've not gone full 9 yards in the detail, but very, very quickly today, we've walked you through the power of acquiring businesses and the power of acquiring businesses to grow. And we've only scratched the surface, right? And you've heard from myself, from Adam, as leaders of the system, and you've heard from some of our friends and students, so Peter and Daniel and Kevin, who joined remotely, and from Natasha. These are some of our favorite students who are doing some really awesome things. They're making a lot of money, they're building a lot of impact, and they're building legacies in their own life. So there is an application process to work with us, as I alluded to. So you can have all those benefits as well of acquisitions into your existing business. So you can go out and buy all the growth you ever needed and use other people's money to do it. But let me ask you a question. You know, what's your gut telling you? Be, you know, level with me. Hit me in the chat. What's your gut telling you? Are you up for doing this? Does this seem like something that's going to really move the needle in the business that you already have? And, you know, and if you type it in the chat and you're still watching this right now, I know it's because you want to learn how to do this. You want to learn how to grow a business faster, and your gut is telling you it's probably a really good idea to apply to enroll and be in this next class, which starts in about 3 weeks. But if I could give you just one piece of advice, it would be this. You know, listen to your gut. If I'd not listened to my own gut back in 2008, when I abandoned the corporate world to become an entrepreneur deal maker, my life would be very, very different. I wouldn't have the wealth I have now, the network I have now, the endless opportunities I have now, and I wouldn't have the freedom that I have now to choose my own path, you know, set my own hours and live the life of my own design. So if your own gut is telling you that going deeper with Adam and I as a student of Dealmaker Empire is the right thing to do, then I sincerely urge you to listen to it and apply, because I just did some of the back of the napkin math while Adam was interviewing the people here. You know, my decision to become a deal maker has saved me almost 40,000 painful hours working for other people. And it's generated for me personally the 8 figures in personal wealth creation since that very pivotal moment back in 2008, where I waved goodbye to the corporate world and decided to become an entrepreneur and do this myself. And if I spread that decision across the thousands of students that we touched and impacted, that for me is a legacy building activity. But let me ask you guys a personal question really quickly. We both know there's a risk to going deeper. Perhaps you'll not like the Empire mentoring sessions or even show up to them. Perhaps you won't do the work. That's why we'll push you and keep you accountable inside of our private members group. But there are no shortages of what ifs. But here's the most important what if of them all. What if you make this work? Seriously, what if you can add millions of dollars of revenue or profit to your existing business in 2021 via acquisitions, via buying businesses? Seriously, just take an arbitrary guess, hit me up in the chat, write down, message me, what's one deal going to do for you? What would it be worth? $200,000, $500,000, $1 million, $5 million, more? Now compare that to the risk of not doing this with us. Here's the personal question. Is it worth it? For me, success is always worth that little bit of risk. It always has been. And if you're like me, you want more for yourself, your business, even your family, and your gut's telling you that this is the right thing to do, apply to enroll in Dealmaker Empire and let me and Adam coach you every single week to get this done. So go to the application page. The link's in the chat. It's dealmakerwealth.com/empire and make the call. Don't find yourself a year from now, you know, looking in the mirror and saying, you know, wow, look at me. I've not progressed my business really at all. I'm still hustling. I'm still grinding. I should be so much further ahead than where I was 12 months ago. If only I went through the Empire system and acquired the growth my business so badly wants. If only I'd listened to my gut and I said, yeah. So apply to come work with us and we'll speak to you soon. Adam, let's do some Q&A.
Yeah, so let's do some Q&A. Guys, if you have questions about the program, questions about deal making, let us know, type them in the chat. Really, the main focus is about the program. You can ask questions of Carl, myself, either Dan or Peter, who are still here on the panel with us, but we definitely want to answer them. So let's jump into it. I saw one question. Let's see here. I see there's one-on-one coaching part of this program. How does it work? This is from Andres. When buying the program, how much time is it available? As Carl said, there's two opportunities for one-on-one coaching. If you join, you get a kickoff call with us, and you get the opportunity for a 911 call. So the kickoff call is about an hour call with whomever, whether Carl or myself, depends on who you are, your deal, and things like that. We want to maximize what that looks like. And we talk through your goals, your objectives, how to really overcome some of those early hurdles. That call happens right before or during the beginning of the course. And then the 911 can be used whenever. You just send in a message to customer service. When I say whenever, it's within the first 12 weeks of the start of the program. And then that 911 call, you'll get Carl or I or both of us to jump on and help solve that problem. It's there, it's available for you. As Carl said, our time is of a premium service, no doubt. We've got a lot going on. Like, I'm looking at Dan this whole time thinking about the call he and I have later, where we're trying to fund several $1 million for this deal where we just went under LOI on, right? Those are the things that we spend time on. So it's very much a part of it. So if you're interested, go ahead and apply. I'll keep dropping the link in the chat for you guys. So definitely let know. So Chad, I know Chad, you'll be joining the Empire group. All right.
Hey, Chad.
Let's see. LOI 3 gets to minute tomorrow. Adam stays on me about joining and certainly will. Well, let's get in here, Chad. Let's get it in here. I'll answer your question here, though. Using cash from existing businesses to cover equity injection for the SBA. Can I expand on this? The answer is yep. You can use credit lines. We talk about this in the Empire program. We talk about how you can do that and what that looks like. So absolutely very important that you understand how to leverage your existing company. No doubt about it. But Chad, I'm excited to have you a part of this. So can't wait to see your application, and we'll get you in there. As Carl said in the beginning, before we get to another question, as Carl said in the beginning, we are only going to accept about I think it's like 20 or so students at the most for the program. We like it to be really small, really intimate. Dan, you're in it right now. You can talk about the value of the intimacy of the setting if you want, like the importance of it being a small group where people are really getting the benefit of that time.
Sure. Yeah, it's a real intimate group. We have 10-ish members, at least on our call. They've got different calls for different sides of the world. So if you're on the other side of the world, they'll have a separate call for you, so you're not on at 1 a.m. or anything. But it's really good to hear about the thought process and the dealings that the other companies are going through, the other owners are going through, as that in itself is helpful as well, because everybody, people are going to have similar problems, and to hear how others work that out, that's additionally helpful on top of the coursework itself.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I mean, you get to meet other entrepreneurs, network with other entrepreneurs, and obviously pick up ideas and opportunities to learn and grow based on challenges they're experiencing in their own business. And that's huge, right? I mean, I think, Peter, thinking about your business doesn't go anywhere without good networking and good relationships. And so the opportunity to meet other entrepreneurs who, while they might not be in the exact same business, they might have solved the problems you're looking to solve already.
Yeah, agreed. Networking with like-minded individuals who've been there, done that is, or who are on the same path, right? It's the reason why I'm on this call. I believe in abundance, not scarcity, and sharing. and listening to others. So yeah, if you can be part of a group, that's always my approach versus trying to be the explorer who's, you know, hacking away and trying to make his way into the new world by himself and get scalped by the Indians, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple questions here around the program, guys. Andres, you've asked another question. To apply to the program, is there specific conditions regarding the size of the company or the income? The answer is yeah. We're looking for at least 500,000 US dollars or about £500,000 if you're in the UK for your business. So turnover over there. The reason is you've got to have a little bit of scale. It's got to be slightly more than a job. You've got to have some employees. You got to have some momentum that you can really leverage your team for.
And it takes the same amount of time to buy a larger business than it does to buy a smaller business. In fact, buying a slightly larger business is easier because you've got better data, you've got more access to information. They're easy to finance as well. But we tend to, whilst I think there's been deals done above 10 million, we kind of 10 million we feel, because that's still a pretty large business. Above 10 million, there's just a lot more competition for those types of deals from private equity or really large players. If you look at the M&A industry, you've got the 50 to $100 million players in any market. They're buying the kind of 10 to $25 million businesses, and then no one's buying the kind of $1 to $2 to $3 million businesses, and that's why you have such a low closing rate. So those are the deals that we're targeting. And yeah, sub $500,000, it's not really worth the time and effort unless you're doing a roll-up. If you're doing a roll-up and you can churn them, like Darren Jacobs in the hair salons, he's buying a business every single week. I think he told us on the call, Adam, you know, once he got to 18, his goal was to go by 100 because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of these businesses, and you know he's buying them up for pennies, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. So I want to get to this question, Carl, near and dear to your heart, I'd say. And this is from Sean. Seems like a very U.S. biased program. What is the current UK take-up on the current program?
Yeah.
I ask because I would almost argue it's UK biased.
Exactly. So sometimes I get accused of it being too much of a UK-centric program when it's not. The program's designed ideally to work in 4 different markets. So it's US being the largest market, UK, then also Canada and Australia. It's been implemented in Singapore. It's been implemented in South Africa. Remember Jacques, Adam, who bought that? Yeah. That was bigger than $10 million, wasn't it? The big oil and gas business he bought down in Cape Town. So, but primarily, you know, UK and the US, they're the largest markets for this business. In fact, one of the last deals that we closed end of last year was a UK business, Adam, wasn't it? Prox. We bought a COVID sign manufacturer. Absolutely fantastic business that we bought. So yeah, that's UK. So you know, a lot of the people that you heard from today, Darren Jacobs, his roll up for hair salons in the UK, Chris Matthews, his clinic roll up, plus the acquisition of the supplements company is UK. Peter's in Canada, but bought a company in the States. You know, Kevin's in Australia. He actually lives in Singapore, but he's buying the businesses down in Australia. So this truly is a global formula, global program. Technically, it will work in absolutely any country. There's local tax and legal nuances, as you can imagine, which we obviously cover inside of the training. So no, this isn't a US or UK or Canadian course. It applies to most westernized societies where you've got acquisition financing, you've got lots of businesses available and lots of businesses for sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's important you take that risk for yourself, right? And understand what this can change. You know, Dan's up here talking about paying $150,000 and finding value for this. The reality is Dan didn't pay $150,000, but if it was worth $150,000, he would have, right? And the reality is the value truly is there. Whether you are in the UK, the US, or any of the countries Carl's talked about, it takes one deal, just takes one deal to cover the cost of this by many multiples. And that's just the reality of this. You know, I think about the deal that Dan closed back in December. You know, I'm familiar with what that deal is and what it looks like. If Dan had taken all of the training that he had paid for DealMaker Wealth Society, did it take 30 days, 15 days of owning that company for all of that money to be made back and then some, right? The reality is it doesn't take long to receive such an incredible return on your investment. This is why, you know, people are talking about, Natasha was talking about, oh, maybe go get an executive MBA. This is a lot cheaper than an executive MBA. It's highly focused, highly targeted. It's very actionable. And you've got an immediacy on the return on investment, which is 3-6 months down the road after going through the course, you own a business that's putting multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures in your pocket. I mean, that's how acquisitions work. We only recommend acquisitions that are cash flow positives and only teach acquisitions that are cash flow positive from the day of acquisition. It's not worth it for us to pursue anything otherwise.
Great question from Constantine, Adam, that I'll just quickly hit. In terms of the coaching, can we count on there to be scripts, what to say to the owner of the business we want to get, and templates for stuff like the LOI? Absolutely. You need this stuff. There's so many tools and templates and scripts on all the things that you need. I even give you my perfect meeting playbook. So how to walk a seller through a conversation where you're looking to buy the business. We even give you all the scripts on how to approach them through social media or direct approaches, how to build that relationship rapport in that first point of contact. And then obviously, when you get to the stage where you've verbally agreed a deal and you're looking to put together a letter of intent, which is the executive summary, if you will, of all the deal points, it's a key document in any transaction. We obviously give you a template for that, which has been tried and tested and has all the different things that you need in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so guys, I'm just dropping the link again for the application, and we're going to get wrapped up here in a few minutes. So if you have any other last questions about the program or things like that, let us know, but definitely apply. We'd like to see your applications come in, and we want to work with you. Okay, let's see here. Carl, can you tell us more about deal financing without giving a personal guarantee when you're starting without experience?
Yeah.
Is this where we say it's in the program?
Yeah. So obviously we get into that in so much detail, but let me just give you the high points. So personal guarantees are kind of really interesting. So in some, it depends on the deal and it depends on you and it depends on what you're offering up to a financier. So if you've got an asset heavy business where the financing secured against those assets, then you don't need to sign a personal guarantee. Where you've got a deal where there's no assets, it's just cash flow. So let's say it's an online business, a SaaS company or something like that, and someone's putting money into the deal and there's no assets to secure it, then you might need to sign a personal guarantee. But in a lot of cases, especially in the UK, you can insure it. There's just personal guarantee insurance programs. It's like 1% of the value of the PG, and it's paid for out of the business. In the US, PG insurance is not as prolific. If you do an SBA deal, you need to personally guarantee a small part of it because the federal government is underwriting, I think, is it 80% now, Adam, or 85%?
Because of recent stimulus, it's 90% for 7A loans. It was 75%, so that's a big benefit. And just to talk about that, if you're here in the US or are interested in working with partners in the US, I mean, through the middle of September, if you close on an SBA loan, 2 really awesome things are happening. The first is the SBA guarantee fees are all paid for by the government. So it's typically 3% in change of the deal. So on $1 million transaction, that's 30 grand you don't have to pay. On a 2 million, it's 60. And the percentage actually goes slightly higher, so it'd probably be like 65 or 70. The reality is that's a huge win. The second thing is for the first 3 months after the transaction, they're going to pay up to 9 grand a month of your monthly payments. So that's another 27 grand the government's giving you to go buy a company. So for $1 million transaction, which is a company that's making 300, say 50,000 a year of earnings, you're going to get nearly 60,000 of free value as a result of the stimulus, which has come from the pandemic. So if you're on the fence about whether you should do this or not, if you're in the US or have the opportunity to partner with people in the US, thinking about the SBA as an acquisition tool and a way to finance the deal, now is the time. It is literally no cheaper to do this. Those deals take a few months to get through the bank process. So if you're not learning how to do this right now, you're going to miss the window as it closes several months from now.
Sure.
Now is literally the time if you're thinking about the SBA. It's imperative for sure.
Yeah, Williams asked a question about SBA apparently becoming a lot harder. We're seeing it actually getting a lot easier. In fact, Adam in Prox, we're closing on an SBA deal like
within a few weeks from now. Yeah. We don't have the exact final closing date. It might be the 9th of April. I'm not sure. I'm just waiting for the final date. But listen, we're getting no guarantee fees. We're getting our first few months of payments paid. We're not telling you to do stuff that we aren't actively taking advantage of ourselves. So if you're looking to do this, you've got to jump in now, because there are certainly no guarantees. There's going to be another large stimulus bill passed 3-6 months from now to extend that. Great
question from Jason. What are some ways to find international deals while I'm in the US? So what's really interesting, Jason, is obviously we go through this in the program, but I'll just give you the highlights. So when you're leveraging the direct approach method that I talked about, and you're leveraging networking and the use of social media, you're going to be generating contacts all over the place. You can even talk to brokers in different countries if you like. And then the great thing is, once you find deals using that method, as your first port of call, you're probably going to be doing Zoom calls. And you can do a Zoom call if you're in the US and you're looking at an Australian deal. You could be 100 yards down the road. If you're in a country that's socially distancing and is in lockdown, so if you're in the UK right now, it's still illegal to actually leave your home to meet people. So I could be having a call with somebody in the office next door, or I could be having a call with somebody on the opposite side of the world. It makes no difference. So now's the perfect time, to be doing this, and leveraging the power of global communications. The world's changed in the last 12 months. The number of people that will now continue working from home is going to massively skyrocket. I don't know about you guys. I don't see the world all going back to offices as the world opens up. I think, why do you think Salesforce paid $28 billion to Slack? Because remote messaging communication and tools like Zoom and Skype, this is the new norm now. And we've been leveraging these tools for years. Now everyone else is jumping on this. So, there's no excuse. You can originate deals in lots of other countries. I bought a business in California while I was in the UK, and only went to visit the company and meet the seller. Right at the last hurdle. I managed to do all the work and get everything done, from this side of the pond. So, definitely leverage the internet for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, guys, we're going to wrap this up. I've dropped the link one more time in the chat for you. If you wanted to apply, we'd love to have you as a part of this training program. Peter, Dan, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Dan, your invoice will be in the mail for the extra 6 figures you asked for this training. And I'll talk to you this afternoon, of course. But listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences. And for everyone here who's still listening and watching, thank you so much. We're looking forward to hopefully having you in the course with us. We're looking forward to your applications. We want to change lives and build an army of deal-making entrepreneurs. That's our objective and our goal, and frankly, our legacy. So guys, thank you so much. You're one deal away from changing your life. Let's make this application the first step towards that.
Yeah, get your applications in, guys, and then good or bad, you get to talk to me. So we'll have a conversation. I've cleared my schedule for the next few weeks, so we can have a good chat about what your goals are. And yeah, let's do it. I will see you guys soon. Thanks, guys.